S4, S3.
Excuse me?
S4, S3.
S3. Good morning. It's Thursday, Parshas Baloscha, May 23rd.
59 of Omer.
The 59th of the Omer, yes. And it's one day before somebody's birthday. I'm not going to say who, but if you Google it, maybe you'll find it.
Is he a rabbi?
Okay. Anyway,
Big rabbi.
Big rabbi.
we have. I was thinking about this morning. I came a little early. I was going to learn the Chumash Rashi, and it's something very, very interesting in this week's parsha. There's a very famous statement in this week's parsha. But before we come to the statement, let me tell you what happened over here. There were two men that were. Their name was. Well, you know what? Before I get to that, let me say something else. Okay.
Eldad
and Medad. But before I'll come to Eldad and Medad, Aaron and Miriam were complaining to Moshe.
Yeah.
And they said to Moshe, Moshe did not have any relationship with his wife. And the reason he didn't have is because, why?
Because he was talking to HaKadosh Baruch
all the time. So he didn't want to be, he didn't want to be in an impure state. So Aaron and Miriam, his older brother and sister, said, "Hey, bro, you're not the only one that God is talking to. We talk to him also once in a while. What gives you the right to separate yourself from your wife?" And what is this? And the next statement in the Torah, the next pasuk, is a very popular and a very profound statement. One of the most profound statements in the whole Torah. It says, "V'hish Moshe onav ma'od mikol adam asher al pnei adama." Moshe was the most humblest person that ever lived on mikol adam, from all the men, from everybody. He was the most humblest. So I'm sure that you guys were up many nights thinking to yourselves, what's the connection? Why in this point does the Torah tell us that he was the most humblest?
He didn't respond.
Excellent. So, in life, we have excuses for everything. And everybody's defensive. Everybody has excuses. Everybody can rationalize anything they do. And it may even make sense in a certain way.
To tell them.
He had a good reason, as Benny says. He had the best reason in the world. He's talking to Hashem. How much more respect can a person have talking to Hashem? And he says to himself, you know what, I'm going to be talking to Hashem. I got to be in the highest level of Kedusha. I have to be the most holiest person in the world. So I am not going to do something which will put me in a lower level of sanctification. But he didn't say anything. He didn't come up with an excuse. His excuse may have been valid, but still. And that is such an important lesson that in fact we have that in Pirkei Avos too, I believe, that there's much to be gained from just once in a while just swallowing. Just swallow it. Yeah. Right, there's Siag L'chach Mishtika. There's all kinds of things where, now, not every time you have to be quiet. Sometimes you have to
defend.
Not so much defend as sometimes you have to speak up because you're going to be setting a poor example, or people will think that the halacha is different. So you have to clarify sometime. But here's just a case where, now, what's interesting to note. There's all kinds of humble people. There's a few jokes that I can say about this.
You're late.
Morning.
Morning.
You know, there was once a rabbi in a shul. He was very well learned and everything, and just let me put this on pause for once. There was once a rabbi who he was a great man, and
Sit down, Dodo.
so we're talking about the pasuk that says that Moshe was the most humblest man. Ish Moshe onav ma'od mikol
That's why
adam.
you have that little small olive. Go ahead.
That's why you have the small olive in Vayikra.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. So as opposed to the reasons that I learned that there was a small olive that he ran out of ink. You know, but
No, because the mind of the ink
I remember that one.
Hashem put on his forehead.
That's it.
and why he had a
Moshe. What
shining
happened was
face.
that he exactly. That was right.
Yeah.
That that extra ink he wiped his.
Right, I remember.
Whether Hashem wiped it or he wiped it, and that's why his face was. You couldn't look at his face.
Right.
Anyway, so there's once a rabbi that was a great rabbi, was very humble. So his congregation gave him a pin. It says the most humblest man in town. They gave him a pin. So every day he wore that pin over here.
Not very humble.
So they took it away from him. There was a guy davening in shul on Yom Kippur,
Go ahead.
and he was davening Kol Nidre night, and he's standing by the wall, and he's davening Hashem. He says, I haven't been good. I am nothing. I am afar. I'm dust. I'm ashes. Please forgive me. I'm worthless. Okay. The next day, they're giving out aliyahs. He doesn't get an aliyah, and he's insulted, and he starts screaming. What do you mean you didn't give me an aliyah? Do you know who I am? So somebody goes over to him and says, I don't understand you. We heard you yesterday davening. You said you're nothing. So what's the problem? So he says, you don't understand. When I'm talking to Hashem, compared to him, I'm nothing. But with you guys here, I'm the best. Come on. So this is what the Torah means over here.
Yeah.
I believe this is what the Torah means. V'ish Moshe onav ma'od mikol ha'odam. He was humble from all the people.
Yeah.
He wasn't just humble when he was talking to Hashem.
Right.
He was humble when he was talking to all the people.
Not only that, but you have to know who you are. In other words, he knew who he was.
He knew he was, right.
And yet he was humble. That's the difference.
That is a very difficult...
Here's a guy who goes up to Hashem and speaks to
Right.
Hashem face to face.
Right.
He talks to Hashem every single day.
Right.
And a man like that, when he holds himself humble, then he's humble.
Right.
Imagine any time you need to make a phone, you got the red phone, you pick up, you
That's
speak
right.
to the president, you know what I mean? He had the
Now-
red phone constantly.
You had the
Now-
phone
Can you imagine?
face to face.
But you understood what I'm
Appears
saying.
to him.
I'm saying, imagine if you had that phone to President Obama.
Before they had the phone.
Well, President Obama, I don't know if it's such a big miler, you know what I
I
mean?
want to listen to Mendy, not to listen to him.
Okay, so in this week's Parsha, if you read through it,
What are you doing, Bahalais?
Baloscha, I think it's this week's Parsha, right?
that's
Even
this
Atlantic
week's,
City.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. I didn't know if you did this week. So.
Yeah, I'm doing this week. So
Today.
today's Parsha,
Okay.
and we see many times in the Torah this week Moshe's humbleness.
Right.
But you have to look for it. He was so humble that even to prove his humbleness, he didn't make it clear. Excuse me? I didn't hear what he said. Okay, so first of all, there's a terrible thing that happened over here. Here the Jews were just they went through unbelievable things. They got taken out of Egypt. They saw all kinds of miracles. They went to the Yam Suf, the sea split for them. They came to Har Sinai. They saw God come down and give them the Torah. They had the mun fall. How much more can somebody get in a lifetime? And what happens? They start complaining. Right away, they start complaining. Now,
Where's the shish kebab?
right?
Exactly.
You know,
On the
it's the what have you done lately for me lately syndrome. You know, we're all that way. You know, somebody can can do a million things good, and he does one time something bad, and right away they're ready to stone him. In fact, I'll tell you a little story. I wasn't going to say this, but it reminded me that when I was in Tel's Yeshiva in Cleveland, I was
That's right, it was Rebbe.
I was
My brother-in-law went to tell.
Yeah, who's that?
Aaron Farkas. Did you know?
Yes. Was his father in women's brasiers?
I don't know.
Yeah, he used to tell me my father is in bras. You know, maybe I shouldn't say this. I'm on YouTube. Anyway, I think I remember. Yeah. Anyway, so I was a good guy. I learned well. I came to daven on time. You know, I'm not a latecomer. But one time, I'm there 2.5 years in Telz already, and I came late. One time, I woke up late, and I used to come a half hour before davening, like I do over here. I stayed in the Besmedrish till late, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, sometimes even later, and they had amazing Rosh Hashivas, one of the most famous Rosh Hashivas in the world, Rabbi Gifter,
Absolutely.
who was an unbelievable book. If you have a chance, there's a book out called Rav Gifter.
Yeah.
If anybody's interested, I'll bring it in. I have 2 copies. You can read it. Anyway, so I'm 2.5 years in the yeshiva. I came late one day, and the monitor, the supervisor,
Mashgiach.
Rebbe Mashgiach, exactly,
Mashgiach.
comes to me and says, the Yeshiva wants to talk to you. So, I always say, the Yeshiva wants to see you in his office. We see a lot of times that Hashem speaks to Moshe. Okay, Hashem speaks to Moshe. But when you get called into the office, when Hashem says, come into my office, come into the Oel Moed, I want to talk to you, you know he's not there to give you a new Bentley. So I knew he's calling him into his office, and I'd never spoken to him. So I come into his office, and it was awesome to see this man, and he tells me, he spoke a fluent English. He was American born. His English he knew the dictionary inside out. He goes, Mendel, why were you late this morning? So I don't know how I had the guts to say this, because I was 15 years old, and here's this man, a Gadol Ador, the leader of the world, and I said, excuse me, Shiva, I see that you have to do something wrong in order to get the schus, to merit, to speak to Rosh Yeshiva. I said, I'm 2.5 years in this yeshiva. I've never been late, and nobody ever said anything to me. I never got the pleasure to speak to Rosh Yeshiva. But the minute I did something wrong, I right away get to have an audience with the Rosh Yeshiva. So he told me, duly noted. This is what he answered me. So we all like to complain. Somebody can do something good. Somebody can daven by the Yomit for 3 years and do an amazing job. One day he goes a little fast or a little slow, and right away he's bombarded. So it's what have you done for me lately? So the Jews, and this started out, and the Jews in the desert, they went through such wonderful things, and Hashem showed them so much kindness and benevolence, and right away they're complaining. So what does Moshe do when the Jews complain? If it was me, I would blow their heads off. How do you have a nerve to complain? You have man, you're complaining you don't have meat. What's the big deal? You have the man. Man tastes like anything you want. But no, Moshe. What is Moshe's reaction to this? He doesn't get upset with the Jews. He turns to Hashem, and he prays. Vayispal Moshe al Hashem. And Moshe prays to Hashem, and not only did he pray, but he said to Hashem, this job is a little too much for me. He's humble. He says, so Hashem answers him. What does Hashem answer him? You know what? Start delegating. It's like Yisro told him. Appoint 70 Zakanim, 70 elders, and I will some of that Ruach HaKodesh, let's see how he interprets it over here. Some of the Spirit that is upon you, some of the Holy Spirit that I put on you, Moshe, I will now give to those 70 people. So he loved that idea. He didn't.
Starting with Aaron.
He didn't say, no, I want to be the only one. He was ready to have other people distribute to share in the glory. Just as something interesting, and I may have the answer for it. I don't know if I can get to it today. That when Hashem answers Moshe about the meat, Hashem says something. You know what? You want meat? I'll give you meat. The expression, be careful what you pray for, you may get it. You want meat? I'll give you meat. Now, when we eat too much, and when we have something too much, what's the expression we use? We use, it's coming out of my
Ears.
It's not what the Torah says. What does the Torah say? I'm going to give you meat till it comes out of your nostrils. Nose. So why is that? Why is it that the expression is coming here, but the Torah uses nostrils? So the nostrils are, that's where, when Hashem created the first man, he infused his neshama through the nostrils. Yeah, he blew the neshama in his nostril, and that's how Adam Rishon was created. And
Easy access.
And unfortunately, when a person dies, that's where his soul departs, nostrils. And I spoke about this a few months ago. That to test if a person is dead, the Gemara says you should put a piece of glass by his nostrils and see if there's fogs up, if there's air. Now, why the nostrils? So I heard something just recently from my Rabbi Weiss, and I forget who he quoted about this, because we have all kinds of things going on in our body, and we have all kinds of limbs, hands, ears, eyes, mouth, eyes. With every one you can sin, but it's very, very difficult to sin with your nose. The nose is the holiest part of the body. There's nothing more holy. We touch things which are not this. We look at things we shouldn't. We speak Lashon Hara. We hear Lashon Hara. But the nose is...
The nose knows.
The nose knows. The nose is the purest. And also, the nose is the closest to Hashem. When you daven, which is the closest part of Hashem? That's the closest part to Hashem. So Hashem says, you know what? I'll give you so much meat it'll come out of your nose, like hey, stop complaining to me.
He gave them.
And he gave them, yeah. Now, slug.
What is slug?
Slug is like a quail. Quail.
Quail's a bird.
Quail is a bird, yeah, it was some kind of a bird. Okay, I think I'm going to stop because some people get a little annoyed when I go over the time. So have a good Shabbos, everybody, and hope to see you all next week.